This podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial by simply going to audibletrial.com/TSE. Audible has over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, or even your MP3 player. Simply go to audibletrial.com/TSE. Tell me your boy Donald sent you. So, what do you do if a prospect only has time for you via email? You know you need to meet with them, you need to get a phone call. This is a question that came up in the Sales Evangelizers. Today I'll share with you my answer, some of the thoughts that came to my mind of what I would do in such a situation. You're going to love this episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode today, I'm going to answer the question, what do you do when a prospect only wants to email with you? You can only meet with them via email. You know you need to get on the phone with them. You know you need to get in person with them or somehow sit down to chat with them. You know, it's going to push you to write a proposal via email. May not be the best situation because you don't understand everything and it just may be, they're just going to shop around. But I'm going to give you some thoughts. But before we dive into all the fun stuff, your boy has to give some shout outs. I want to give a big shout out this week to Alana Kern. Also want to give a big shout out to Nicole Edwards and Lane Taylor. Thank you guys so much for connecting with me. I wish you great success in all that you're doing, all your endeavors. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can go ahead and find me on LinkedIn, Donald C. Kelly. You can find me on Twitter, Donald C. Kelly. Or you can go ahead and find me on Instagram, Donald C. Kelly. Same name across the board. You can join our private Facebook group, the Sales Evangelizers. Shh. This is a community where this question came from, where you can come, you can ask questions, share your thoughts and insights, and just build strategic alliance. Again, just go to Facebook and search for the Sales Evangelizers. We also have the same group on LinkedIn as well for those who use LinkedIn more, but go ahead and check out the community, the Sales Evangelizers. Would love to have you join. But let's go ahead and dive into this question. You have a prospect. The prospect is only willing to communicate with you via email, won't get on the phone, won't do a, in-person meeting, and you're worried about going now and just preparing a proposal, and you have not been able to truly understand any of their real challenge. Well, first off, I would say that this person may just be shopping around. Maybe it's just me, but I think they're just probably shopping around. That could be one of the problems. And if they're just shopping around, they don't want to take the time to sit down and go through the whole thing with the salesperson because they're probably doing this with multiple other sellers. So it's like, do I want to sit down and spend, the next several days trying to learn about their business and to have them learn about my business and explain stuff. And it goes back to the idea now that so many sellers are doing their homework so many buyers are doing their homework and coming to the table prepared. But again, that's just initial thought that comes to mind. The other thought is maybe they really are just so busy and they just don't have time and they think the only time and the only thing they can do is just communicate to you via email. The first thing I would do is go back to the concept of setting the rules before you play the game. And one of those things that you could have as a rule is that we need to set up a phone call. I understand that you're a very busy person, but let's go ahead and set up a time where we can get on the phone just for 10 minutes. I can talk to you and be able to better understand what exactly you're looking for and to see if we're a fit or not. Because if we're not a fit, I would hate for you to waste your time and I would hate to waste my time. So that's one of the very, very first thing that I would do is try to set the rules before you play the game. It's also important to understand this prospect. How big of a client is this? How big of a company? How big of an opportunity? You can do some research initially online and say, okay, well, this is a pretty decent sized company. It looks like they're legit. And that they really do have some kind of need for our product or service. And maybe they're just really, really busy. But again, I'm going to share. Depends how important this is to them. Because if something is that important, if they really want to gain this new product or service that you have, I imagine they're going to take some time and effort to really want to get that detail from you, to communicate with you on a phone call or be willing to, just even if it's a 10 to 15 minute phone call, to chat with you. So that's one indicator right away. If they're not willing to do that, then it's probably not that big of a deal to them. You also need to just realize that, hey, what is the worst that would happen? What if I do, quote unquote, lose this opportunity? What's the worst that's going to happen? You didn't have it before. You know what I mean? So you can't necessarily lose something either way that you didn't have. So don't even worry about it and don't make it become something that's going to stress you out and, make you go cray-cray. You just have to realize, hey, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm just going to be bold in this situation. And sometimes you have to be willing to walk away from something. So if it's going to be a headache, it's going to be this big old problem, and you're never going to be able to truly help this prospect to progress, then just like, it's no big deal. Let it go. There are many other fishes in the sea, many other prospects that you can go after. But here are some strategies if they're really, 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 really just busy and they can't meet with you, and they think they can't meet with you, I should say. I would send them an email, just like I mentioned earlier, explaining that in order for us to, I totally understand that you're busy and that you have a lot going on. However, I'm willing to work around your schedule and to make sure that we get at least a few minutes to talk, at least 10 minutes to talk. Let me know which one of these potential times could work for you. And I would send them this email using this tool called Assistant.to. It's a plugin that you can have with your Gmail. But in this email, you can embed the specific times. And I spoke about this in other episodes before, but you can embed specific times. And I would give a wide range of times. I would give a time early in the morning, because if they're so busy, I would give a time like at 7 a.m. in the morning. Then I would give a time maybe in the midday or later on in the afternoon or later in the evening. But I'm willing to sacrifice, and I'll show them that I'm willing to sacrifice to get on a call with them because it's that important to me to be able to have this meaningful conversation. And all they would have to do in that email is just simply click on one of those times, and then it get embedded on their calendar, and then you get embedded on your calendar, and it's good to go. You're going to know you're going to call. And it's going to be 15 minutes, and you can specify that the meeting will be 15 minutes with Assistant.to. So that's one way that I would do this as well. The second thing I would ask, if worst case scenario, I'll say, who else on your team? I know you're a busy person. Who else on your team would be a good person for me to speak with initially to make sure to understand if we're fit or not? If it's not a fit, again, I just don't want to waste your time, and I would not want our time to be wasted. So I would like to figure out who else on the team would be a good person for me to speak with that can be of assistance. If it's a one-person shop, one-man team, then same thing. I'll go back to my previous notion of making sure that we set up a time of 15 minutes. But worst case scenario, I want to be able to get with somebody else that can help give us a better understanding of the scope of the challenge that they're looking at and to help us go further. The other thing you can do is just call them out, and this takes some guts. But again, you don't want to waste your time. You're not a pushover. So what I would simply say is, it's okay if I ask you a question without you getting offended. And they'll respond, and obviously this is over email. You can say most time when people tell me they only want to communicate via email, it's just that this project is not a big deal for them right now and they're not ready to go forward, so they're just doing initial research. 2, they're not familiar with our company, don't know if they want to waste all their time talking to a sales rep. Or 3, they're just really that busy and don't necessarily think that they have time to be able to take care of the project effectively right now. You can make up whatever options that you feel, but you can use some of these options and send it to them and see what they say. At the end of the email, you might just say, which one of these apply to you or the situation right now, David? And they might just let you know, well, it's just that I am not sure. We're just doing initial research. And it also all depends on your product and service too. Again, I'm answering this question based on the fact that this person needs to meet with them to sit down to talk, or need to do a phone call to be able to truly understand. Most complex solution that you're selling requires you to have a discussion with the prospect. But if you're selling something that's not going to require you to sit down and talk to the prospect, maybe you can close it over email. So just keep doing the email conversation. And if they're willing to pay that way, then so be it. But most of the clients that I have who are working in complex sales as well, they require a conversation. They require a meeting of some sort to be able to go over more information. So anyways, I hope this is able to help give you some direction with this question. Hope it gives you some ideas and some thoughts. If you found something else that you tried and it worked effectively, feel free to tell me as well. I'd love to hear what solution that you came up with. But all in all, I want you to be successful. I want all of you to be successful. I want you guys to be happy. I want you to be able to just go out there and hustle every day. But most importantly, I want you to go out and do big things.